There will be no end of the world in 2012. The interaction with other civilizations and changes in the collective human intellect paradigm. In 2012 I am cancelling all my planned trips in fall and winter. Even though there will be nothing scary happening, but the situation will be kind of hectic. Some other uncertainties and the like. Nevertheless, I hope that by that time you will be smart enough to understand that all that is nonsense.
Но я думаю, к тому времени вы уже достаточно поймете, что все это ерунда.
So, are you saying we still don't quite understand that yet? No, not everyone understands that. I see that about half of you still think that perhaps there will be something happening in December of 2012. There will be nothing extraordinary happening at all. Everything will be as usual, like yesterday was Friday and tomorrow will be Sunday. Nothing has happened, right? It will be the same, concerning the mythical end of the world. It's just that these types of things are pertaining to completely different scenarios, which we have successfully passed. Can you imagine the self-consciousness configuration's quality, in which my Indians were? What kind of quality of information they had, which became the foundation of their calendar and their prophecies. It was designed specifically for their own type of self-consciousness configurations. Try to compare the scenarios of our modern life with these, which they had. They are totally different in terms of quality. We simply aren't able to enter into these life scenarios, which they talked about with our current configurations of self-consciousness. Just like with the cataclysmic variations, we have simply avoided them, since all of you are ready for the better scenarios. Just like most other people, who are also ready to perceive these things as the vehicles for their spiritual growth. If there is no fear, there is no need for such a dreadful experience. Everything around us exists so we could obtain the maximal degree of various experience and synthesis. Here, where you perceive yourselves now, you have gained the necessary experience of living in cataclysmic situations, unlike these of you, who currently lives in these, lesser qualitative scenarios. So you would understand, that there is nothing to fear. There isn't any difference for us whether these cataclysmic events will take place or not. You become indifferent to that. What have prompted you to think like that? You think that, because other you, are experiencing and projecting that experience onto the current you. It comes from there, and this experience transfers into your surrounding reality. You simply don't even want to get into these scenarios. By the way, you couldn't, even if you wanted to. Currently you aren't located in the time loops, where that kind of experience could be obtained. So, unfortunately there will be nothing of that kind happening at all. What about the scenarios involving spaceships? Yes, these still exist. I have reviewed these scenarios about 6 months ago, and can assure you that it is still possible. This information is regarding the contact with other cosmic civilizations. Currently there are a lot of people on Earth who are ready for such contact, upon which there will be some sort of representatives exchange. On evacuation? No, on exchange. There will be holographic shows, where people will see the lifestyles of various planets of different civilizations. Anyone wishing to continue living there and mix among the locals will be able to do so. They will be able to freely move through these form systems and completely blend within various civilizations as they please. However, there are some stipulations to that. These stipulations imply the configuration correction. It means there will be perception correlation, although the iissiidiology's perceptions are quite universal among the multitude of various civilizations. That knowledge iissiidiology will actually become the vehicle for many people to get in close contact with these other civilizations. The correction of dissonant people's self-consciousness configuration will be performed immediately upon that contact.
Никто там конкретно это не, а это сразу вот сразу диссонирующие личности отводятся в сторону для того, чтобы
It will be performed gently, but firmly.
еще чего-то. А очень много людей, те, которые фактически коррекция нужна конфигурации и все, и они становятся нормальными.
Many people will only require a small such correction, after which they will be immediately able to become the regular citizens of the future cosmic societies, where they resonantly belong.
Которые им ближе, потому что в каждой цивилизации есть разные уровни, разные сценарии.
Various civilizations have different levels of relationships, interaction types and various levels of social existence formation.
Как это, государственных структур, там, общественного строя и так далее.
Anyone will be able to choose scenarios of their liking without a problem. Anyone will be able to realize themselves in any way they desire.
Для этого надо иметь уже некую.
But for that, you would have to be already be stabilized within at least middle to high frequency levels of your self-consciousness. For instance, every one of you here would definitely pass the radial test, as I call it. These spaceship scenarios are still there, as I have mentioned. I actually feel excited about that. It's very exciting. Such an interaction of various civilizations. Sort of a blend of our and their civilizations. They encase their high-frequency perceptions and configurations into the Earth civilization, while we provide our experience and perceptions onto their civilizations. This is perfect mutual coexistence. Could that be called an interquality synthesis? Yes, definitely. All of that becomes possible because we are already within totally different temporal continuums. It's the whole different ballgame. Yes, there are still wars going on, various strikes. But note that all that negativity is taking place while most people on the planet simply ignoring it. They aren't participating in it neither with their thoughts, nor desires.
Не участвуют в плане ни мыслями, ни желаниями своими, ни это. Вот, и сам,
And the whole human society is already completely different.
другим, уже не столь агрессивным и не столь
It's already not at all that aggressive or suppressive.
строящим отношения на подавлении.
Such aggression and suppression still exists, but is diminishing in a geometrical progression. The irritating element of a socialist system has gone. It was a definite extremity.
Исчезла вот эта вот раздражающая элемент раздражающий социалистической системы. Вот. То есть
And this has led the world to almost complete balance.
И это привело к большему равновесию вообще в мире.
Within the nearest decade, the country borders will completely vanish.
В ближайшее десятилетие границы исчезнут вообще.
The borders will become purely conditional, an anachronism.
Станут анахронизмом.
The European Union, Schengen Zone, will be greatly expanded by its new members, such as Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and others.
Эти вот страны причерноморские туда войдут в этот Евросоюз, это так?
Factually, the European Union will consist of 52 countries in the nearest future, approximately 8 years from now.
Государства скоро станут представлять Евросоюз. Это вот на ближайшие 8 лет.
How many European Union member countries there are now? 28.
28-я стала вот какая-то страна недавно стала 28-й.
So, 24 countries will join the European Union within the 8-year period, so there will be 52 of them.
24 страны войдут это.
The borders will be a pure decoration. When we have been in Switzerland, we took a short trip to France, and saw the ever-open border gate. There was no one at the gates and you can drive through as you wish. And it's the same exact highway, whether you in Switzerland or France, no difference. However, all that beauty will still be inaccessible, until certain event happen. I'm sorry, a lot of people would not understand me now, but I must state that tremendous amount of people will leave. I have already made some comments about it. I am talking about people who currently exist in powerful dissonance with everything else around them.
Перефокусировок в околочеловеческое направление.
Their priority refocusing vector is not aimed towards near-human refocusing development. There are configurations, individuals, who in no way are capable of perceiving the ideas of altruism, unanimity and intellectuality.
Альтруизма, всеобщности, интеллектуализма,
They are only capable of mostly aggressive reactions, instigating certain nations against one another and certain people against each other. They don't really have much to offer except hatred, egocentrism and negativity. They judge and label everyone around them, and they simply aren't able to comprehend the joy of positivism and altruistic lifestyle. Hence, such people must and will go. Just like we are departing from their continuums, they are leaving our continuums.
Это весьма
We are in focusing within groups of various continuums.
в группах континуума. Какая-то часть
Certain parts of these continuums are manifested in forms of various personalities of middle and high-level self-consciousness. Among intellectually, sensually and spiritually deficient people, the mass deaths of other, less developed individuals, will be observed. That's where all kinds of illnesses and diseases exist. On the other hand, the mass deaths of spiritually and intellectually developed people will be observed within lesser qualitative parts of continuum groups.
Там это видится как смерти вот этих вот духовно устремленных людей.
With prevailing dominance of low-frequency individuals with rough configuration of self-consciousness. These deaths are also triggered by various illnesses and diseases, various armed conflicts, wars and murders of such people and so on. It will continue until the continuum groups become somewhat balanced.
У нас это происходит тоже в глобальных масштабах, пока континуум, группа континуум не придет в нормальное состояние, уравновешенное.
What I mean by the balanced state, it's when the difference between individual self-consciousness configurations of both sides of a society are basically leveled. You see, these now evident global opposition actions resemble the pre-mitosis condition of a cell splitting.
Начало разделения клетки, начало разделения какой-то части слоагрентности данной группы континуум на две части.
It's like a division of certain continuum groups onto the two parts. The spiritually striving people are being refocused into one part, while all the others, who aren't yet ready for such spiritual growth, are being refocused into the other part. They are going into their own scenarios, through their temporal loops, collect a certain experience, and only after that, they can actually be revealed within the more qualitative parts of continuum groups. So, now we are actually facing this phase of a pre-mitosis condition, when a cell is ready to split. As you might know, pre-mitosis involves a long accumulation, but the act of mitosis itself happens quite swiftly. It's when a cell splits into two separate cells, each with their own nucleus. Membranes are being developed, and when they actually merge, the spallation takes place. We have to go through the situation, when spiritually undeveloped, mostly aggressive and egocentric, people vibrations will get in a powerful dissonance with vibrations of new, more qualitative continuum groups.
Диссонанс конфигураций недоразвитых людей, низкоразвитых, то есть настроенных агрессивно, настроенных эгоистично, будет вступать в мощный диссонанс с вибрациями пространства-времени уже нового континуума.
Our continuum groups, where we already steadily in focusing now, belong to higher frequency continuum groups. The same is true about the lower frequency continuum groups, where our configurations suffer from the powerful vibration dissonance. We die there, and reveal in our, more qualitative continuum groups. It all happens insensibly. None of us, regardless of the self-consciousness development degree, will ever
И вот
notice
этот
such
момент
refocusing.
очень короткий относительно
We simply will continue existing and cognizing ourselves within a new continuum groups without realizing that we have just refocused
И за
from
этот
somewhere.
короткий этап могут случиться разные вещи.
This period is pretty short, in relation to the whole linear evolution period, and various things can occur.
То есть
In our
могут
continuum there will be only
появиться различные группы
high-frequency
вирусов,
events taking place,
которые не
such
были
as an emergence of
известны
new
группам
viruses and
прошлой группы
diseases,
континуума.
unknown throughout previous continuum
Если
groups.
в прошлой группе
Within the
континуума
previous continuums we only knew about a low-frequency viruses and diseases, which predominantly affected the more spiritually and psychic developed people.
Другие группы людей, более развитых людей, то
Now,
здесь
within higher frequency continuums, we will only deal with high-frequency viruses and diseases, which will not affect our high-frequency configurations due to the mutual resonance.
Они не будут, как это сказать, не причинять никакого вреда.
These high-frequency viruses and diseases will tremendously affect the low-frequency configurations, simply destroying the biological form by the powerful dissonance impact.
И этот диссонанс будет просто разрушать форму.
Such destruction will be variable, but you all should be ready for the fact that the quantity of people on the planet will suddenly drastically diminish.
Количество людей на Земле начнет мощно, резко уменьшаться.
Will epidemics be involved? Yes, definitely. These epidemics will mostly affect various people, still bearing a great degree of negativity, envy, hatred and other powerful destruction energies, even though they might look innocent and pretty on the outside. These people have actually always suppressed all that negativity.
Но приспосабливался или приспосабливались к окружающему миру, чтобы это не выдавать другим людям, чтобы не было...
As I said, the quantity of such people will drastically diminish.
И количество таких людей начнет стремительно уменьшаться. Стремительно.
I am not actually talking about the inverse radial refocusing, since there is a whole different tendency and different processes going on there.
И там совсем другие понятия, представления.
We wouldn't even notice it as actually happened.
Не будем это как что-то, что произошло.
Instead we will focus into the already existing scenarios, with more qualitative high-frequency forms of self-consciousness, where we continue our infinite existence and become these forms.
Уже осуществляем некую деятельность. Мы становимся этими формами, и все.
Some part of our low-frequency dynamics is being redirected into some lesser qualitative scenarios.
За счет инверсионно-лучевых перефокусировок уходит в какие-то сценарии.
While the more qualitative part of our self-consciousness is being merged with already existing high-frequency existential forms within more favorable scenarios. And subsequently we wouldn't even recall that you were in this room, where I am telling you all this. Why? Because this isn't present in these scenarios now. You won't be able to recall any of this in detail until you get in specific catatonic state, when you will want to acquire the specific information. You will project yourselves into the current us, or into other various continuum groups, even more remotely distanced in linear time. Your newly derived experience upon exiting out of the catatonic states will provide an understanding of existence in lower frequency continuums. It doesn't mean, actually, that all we do there is nothing more than remaining in these catatonic states. Not at all. This is just a research method. It allows us later on to become the realities. The catatonic state allows us to completely feel and experience the life of this dog within a few seconds.
переживания Джульетты нашей.
It is true regarding anything, any animal, human, flora and fauna's collective
Любого
consciousness and so
коллективного
on.
разума, допустим, насекомых и все остальное.
All the realities, which we subjectively and inertially experience as here and now, are created there.
Все те миры, которые мы инерционно переживаем здесь и сейчас.
They are being formed and programmed there.
Там они моделируются.
There is perfect future awaits all of us. Simply amazing.
Прекрасное будущее нас сейчас ожидает. Прекрасно. Мы уже выходим на...
We are on the finishing line before we experience the most amazing and unique existence.
Посмотришь на эти...
When I look at all these strikes, wars, business frauds, scandals, Timoshenko's trial and so on, I think to myself, people don't know about other kind of existence, they simply don't know. Well, people who are involved in all of that, most likely will not know about a much better kind of existence for a long while.
Ну как, они, может, и не узнают в своих сценариях. Вы же за кататонический
Do you actually know anything in regards the catatonic state of self-consciousness? You have indicated that in the volume 15 of the iissiidiology. Is it like a deep meditation? No, it's somewhat different than that, as I have described there.
Чем оно отличается от медитации?
The meditation is a work with perceptions, ODS, Olak Druiden system, while the catatonic state is a work within various form systems, roughly similar to the Avatar movie. It involves the projecting of your own focus dynamics, multipolarization of form systems configurations into the space-time geometry. Is that what you call scanning? Yes, but this type of scanning is performed through the highest levels of what I call variable ether constant.
Ну, да, через ПЭС, причем через наиболее высокие уровни ПЭС для того существования.
So, it's totally different, as I said previously.
Это совсем другое.
What we subjectively call the realities is actually what the variable ether constant is, in a way. You could say that we have created various realities up there, and by means of catatonic states, we have projected them down here. Meaning that we have projected ourselves from up there to these form systems down here. Up there we are getting into these catatonic states, periodically exiting out from them. And continue our usual lives, through various types of research, and other creativity and interrelationships. While these current form systems continue to exist uninterruptedly. The question is being asked regarding the Oris's older book series, Transmutation Diaries, published in the year 2000. Oris talks about the book's personalities, who are actually being his high-frequency form-type interpretations. These form-type interpretations have bioplasma and plasma biological forms. The difference between these two kinds of forms is that bioplasma forms are more biological and can become plasma forms within certain conditions. That provides the opportunity for transformation, teleportation and the like. While the plasma biological forms are more plasmous, and upon necessity can become biological. As a result of an interest? Yes, and this type of interest always remains.